Perfect. Thank you so much. I think there's always a risk of doing a pre-lunch panel, guys. So, there is only so much intake of information that will happen. But I think it's going to be super exciting because I think this is one of the most diverse panels I have also moderated, because I'm assuming this is going to have anecdotal references as well as marketing experiences from such diverse dimensions that it'll be exciting. So let's start, I think.
Nikhil, before you begin, I would like to change the energy on stage. So may I request you to shuffle back and sit according to the pictures that are there on the screen, so that we can identify and get that wonderful picture as well. Come on. Just a little musical chair there.
Yeah, I think that also sorts out for the whole gender thing on All right, perfect. So I'll have to look at Kedar in a really long way. That is the whole purpose. Perfect, let's start. Good afternoon, everyone. I think tech-driven renaissance is the topic of our panel, and it's obviously driving a new era of consumer engagement where cutting-edge innovations are at the forefront. Advanced tools and strategies like conversational AI, emotional analytics, multi-screen journeys, and real-time adaptive content are reshaping the way the brands interact with their audiences. I was looking at some key stats, exciting to see them. Globally, AI is projected to contribute an astounding 15.7 trillion to the world economy by 2030. 58% of Indian marketers have adopted AI and machine learning as a part of their marketing strategies. We'll get to know which 58% are here. And 72% of Indian marketers report that their digital marketing technologies such as AI and automation have helped improve their ROI. From AI-powered love bands to AI-driven holy films, I think we're going to having a superbly exciting discussion. So I'm going to start this panel by having a very common and generic question to each one of you, and we can start with you, Kedar. We're seeing a surge in emerging technologies. What is your take on it, and how much do you think are they here to stay, or do you think it's more like a fad and yeah, maybe it's here, we'll hear about them, but we'll probably stick to what we do best? I mean, just a very generic question to the entire panel sitting here.
Hello. Hi, thank you. I think, see, there's a lot of change, and tech has been at the center of it. We will be in ignorance if we say that it's a fad or it's something that only for some time. If you see in our own journey, whether it was at e-commerce or whether it's at banking now, I do see that what technology is doing is there are two things. One is an unintended consequence of how AI, or let's say the overall technology is shaping, and one is the real advantage of it. The fact that it's actually making things a lot more easier, and it is democratizing talent at one level. So you just put in your prompts, you put in your stuff, and you have your outputs come through. But at the same time, it's also exposing talent, and that's really that's a second stage piece of it, which we need to understand. That unless you still have your basics in place, unless you really understand the topic or you have functional expertise, tools won't be able to help you. So I think that's one big point that we should keep underlining and invest in. And then the second point is, at least in marketing, I think the shift from top funnel to bottom funnel marketing to now through the funnel, and a big shift is coming towards the through the funnel marketing backed by a lot of technology. We've experimented it, we've seen it, and I think there's a lot of work that we are shifting to on AI. But yeah, it's definitely here to stay, and I think if you don't embrace it, if you don't do it yourself, it's going to be tough years ahead for you.
No, I think it's interesting you bring it up, because I think AI is almost an abused term now, but I think what matters is AI has been around for like 25 years. I think we all grew up seeing Terminator, but none of us are seeing that robot on the streets now. But I think where it really makes a difference is generative AI. How are you applying AI to it? I think that's making it very exciting, and I'll come back to you, Kedar, because there's some very exciting things that I have seen, at least on Kotak. Mandar, I come to you. I mean, from a very different lens to you, that at Neural Garage, and just generally representing tech, how are you looking at these adoptive tech from your lens?
Sorry, can you?
My question is generic. How are you looking at the renaissance of newer technologies that are coming in, and from your field of expertise, how are you looking at adoption or in general the market perspective?
Yeah. See, what I feel is for any marketeer worth his salt, the most important thing is the ability to plug into culture, because it all starts from understanding the culture of the market that you are kind of building your brand and consumer bridges, right? And the biggest anchor to culture is language. And with, when you look at the world around you, there's a massive trend of language pride. And people now want to, for example, be spoken to and being connected with in a language of their choice and in the place of their choice. Now they don't want to be kind of, being spoken to in a language that is alien to their native. And in the erstwhile era before AI, marketers would pretty much create all their content in one standard dominant language and then localize it and repurpose it through dubbing into other languages. And that clearly was dumbing down the message. But obviously, if you create content in every language, you increase production costs and your CFOs will hate you. But we were living with that for a long time, right? But now with AI, that problem stands solved. Now you're not constrained by production costs, for example, to be able to create content and connect with consumers in a language of their choice. AI does it at a fraction of the cost. And I think that's a massive shifting trend which blends into personalization. The ability and language localization is the best personalization, I think. It gives marketeers an ability to connect with your consumers in the language of their preference, the language that they are comfortable in, and at probably a fraction of the cost. So, and this will only become better as time goes and the technology marinates, and marketers having a better understanding of how to use technology. So for example, right now we have 20 marketers who understand this, and they have a head start over the rest who don't. So it's important that marketers catch up to this technology and start implementing them within their teams so that they are absolutely future ready. That's my take.
Yeah, superb. I think Satish, add on. I mean, obviously you represent, you're well versed with, we work with many DSPs, you're fully adaptive. I think you've been using AI from the time, it's basically what we do for a living, right? I mean, how are you looking at newer adoption from a media standpoint and usage in terms of optimization, targeting, or any other use case that you want to share?
Yeah. Good afternoon, people. I think marketing, ad tech in particular, has been the earliest adopter of AI since almost 20 years when it was predictive AI. This was the field that adopted AI, predictive AI, before almost any other sector did. And we continue to be, we as the industry continue to be the early adopter of generative AI as well. And I believe that this industry is going to be the flag bearer in that sense in adoption of generative AI and the newer developments that are going to happen. I want to take an example of a relatively unexpected category, which is political ads. Around central elections this year, in 2024, that is this financial year, one of the regional parties in India, which was one of the top 5 spenders otherwise on digital for advertising, leveraged AI to tune the messaging, the narrative on a week-to-week basis over a period of a few months, following, building up to the central election, based on all the chatter, the Google search trends, what topics at a parliamentary constituency level was being discussed, and continued optimizing that narrative to a point where perhaps either this did not have an impact and they were anyways going to win, but they actually won by a landslide majority in that region. And the best part was when we subsequently did the correlation analysis around where did we end up with the right GRPs, the higher GRPs that were narrated, the narratives were tuned, it actually had a very strong correlation with the win rates that this party had in that region that they were competing in. And so this is already happening. The future is here, and we are going to continue to remain the early adopter of this.
Did that party win or not?
They won by a landslide in their state.
It all makes sense when the results are good. Otherwise, all AI is down the drain. No, I'll come back to that because it's an interesting use case, I think, political parties. But Shwetal, I come to you. The tech renaissance. I mean, you represent a category which is so diverse, right? how are you looking at this tech renaissance and so many things that is getting introduced to your marketing life from so many partners that you work with? What is your take on it, and how are you looking at adoption as well as adaptation at this point of time?
Okay, first of all, AI, Gen AI are buzzwords, and in agreement that where these technology is concerned, do we need to adopt? Yes, we definitely need to adopt. But whenever these buzzwords happen, there's a kind of a trend that starts setting in. And everybody and every marketer wants to catch on to the trend because you want to look cool that humne AI kiya. Now that's where the catch is. As a marketer, I think it's very, very important, and as an organization, for you to be very clear in terms of what really you want to achieve with AI and what's your use case, because all use cases are different for different industries. And be sharp in that thought process. AI is only an enabler that will help you connect with your end consumer along with the objective, whatever is the company objective which is there, which will be able to connect with your end consumer in a much sharper manner, much faster manner, and in a very proper process-driven manner, provided it is used well. So firstly, while there's so much of buzz happening around AI, one person needs to be very clear about what the objective is. Otherwise, it's like data, where you'll be lost in data, you'll have a lot of data to play around with, and you'll not know what to do with the data. So that is the first thing. Where our industry is concerned, see today, right from establishing the brand in the mind of the end consumer, to making sure that the customer is enabled and even the customer is on your side, and here when I'm talking about a customer, it's also the dealer, distributor, retailer network, to the entire influencer network, which is right from your architects to interior decorators to the contractor to an electrician. So look at it from our industry, you're talking to somebody who's an electrician, and every electrician behaves very differently and understands different languages because you're spread across multiple states and multiple cities and multiple smaller towns as well, to that end consumer who's living, whether he's in a smaller apartment or a larger apartment. So your conversations have to be fairly diverse. While your messaging is the same, and that's where AI really, really helps you connect with these customers across the entire ladder in terms of whatever you want to communicate and in the right kind of manner. Having said that, what's the messaging that you want to pass on has to be a clarity of thought that the marketer needs to have. That AI is not going to tell you. So just a little difference. Otherwise, what happens is any new trend coming in, marketers just go blindly behind it. Just be very clear of what really you need to achieve and what you want AI to do for you.
Do you mean you were not on the metaverse? Is what? Okay, I'll come back to that hopefully.
So same actually metaverse, when metaverse came in, that's the right point. Almost everybody in every boardroom was discussing, abhi metaverse karna padega, and then suddenly AI happened and metaverse was like out of conversations completely, right? So metaverse also was just a trend where everybody wanted to catch on to. AI definitely is important, but what, how, and at what scale is one needs to understand that.
I hope no Facebook representation in the room, but yeah. Okay, we'll move on. Shala, I think very would love to hear your opinion on this, because I think the category that you operate in is obviously very differentiated. And in that segment, are you seeing a lot more push towards adoption of such technologies, whether it's multi-screen advertising, whether it's really correlating consumer journeys across screens, or in general, dynamic creative optimizations for your consumers, in general serving them ads which are AI generated? Again, there is a different angle of performance as well as brand. We will come to that in this panel. Obviously, it makes sense. But how is your opinion varied on this or on the same lines?
Yeah, I think, at the start, I think implementation of these technologies and their relevance and their weightage really varies across categories. It also varies across audiences. As Platinum, our audience is a younger generation, and we're already beginning to see many shifts. I don't want to boldly declare something dead, but the point is that today, most things that we knew of, like, if you take a consumer path to purchase, that has changed. With conversational AI, with conversational commerce rather, everything has changed because, everything is now more of it's not that typical funnel. it's more like a neural network, and various dots connect because we're talking to an audience that is hyper connected at various levels. That's part of the problem, and I think these technologies therefore come in to sort of try and solve it. That's one thing. Even traditional, marketing textbook fundas of segmentation, for example, that has changed. I don't think today segmentation is by context, and that context can be behavioral. It can be, of course, it can be geographic, but it can be behavioral, it can be emotional, it can be mindset driven. It's so many different ways to look at segmentation. But if it's by context, the good thing that happens is it allows for, better, hopefully better conversions, a more sharper targeting, and for categories like ours, that is critical because we don't want to really spray and pray, in that sense. Because it's a very specific category with certain sensibilities, and therefore we want to be sharp about it. And I think these technologies also come into play in deployment, and play a very critical role in deployment, because we want to go with a mix of what we have as transactional data as well as emotional data, and that kind of makes the difference. I think other trends we're kind of seeing is also the fact that these conversational bots and chatbots are becoming almost like your search engine and your storefront and your content dissemination engine all at once. There is, we used to talk a lot about personalization. I think now it's more, at least we see traction for things that are more mass individualization at scale. And we see a better chance of engagement over there. We're talking to an audience who is bombarded, at multiple platforms. I can go on and on about hyper-fragmentation of media, but that's not going to help us currently. And I think, in that hyper-fragmentation and in that bombardment, what helps gain some traction are these technologies and are this interest that it evokes with our consumer.
I think it's interesting because we're moving from 4 P's of marketing and Kotler to which 4 AI engines are you using in our team's new recruitment marketing funda. But I think we'll come to terms with how it's, we'll come in the second round. But before that, Senthil, obviously, what are your thoughts? It's always exciting to hear your thoughts on some of the newer tech from a mass marketing standpoint.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here today from Bank of Baroda. You know that we are a large public sector bank, and particularly in banking industry, this new age technology, which is just taken maybe the entire industry, there's a lot of attention being created. It's totally different. If you see from a banking perspective, earlier it used to be the branch. The branch used to be the center point of customer engagement. The branch manager used to have all kind of information about his customers' data. Now today, with digital coming into the forefront, and we have huge data, and the kind of adoption customers have made in, be it UPI, be it any other digital platform, there is a huge data which it's actually showing the reflection on consumer behavior and what kind of products or services he is getting into. So it's now the shift is being from a local branch manager engaging with customer to a central level of creating data insights with the technology which is coming with all this AI and other technology, data science, a lot of things which are coming in. So centralized creation of insights, and then again reaching out to the customer hyper local at the ground level. So there's a huge shift in the way banking is being looked at because of one, the consumer adoption of technology, the huge data which like a bank like us have with us in terms of transaction, and also the technology which is driving efficiency. Maybe the kind of optimization we could get when customer engagement is tremendous, and the kind of ROI we are seeing we can generate with this technology and the data we are having is very, very huge potential. And that's where if you see recently particularly we had a recruitment of our bank, it would not be looking like when the recruitment ad came to the bank, I could not really decipher some of the roles which we are recruiting. 10 years back, if you see a recruitment ad, it will be officer, junior officer, senior officer only. But today, if you see my ad, out of 158 posts, I don't know what are the type of recruitment our data team or IT team is recruiting. So that's the kind of vision, or that's the kind of potential even in the BFSI or banking industry we are having for technology. And the importance given by brands, importance given by organization is pretty very high and critical, and I'm sure that it's not going to be a fad, and it's going to be a different transformation altogether, even in banking industry also. And maybe you'll ask some more questions on our Gen AI.
Which we have planned. They don't know.
So I don't want to take everything in this question. Thank you.
No, okay, I think sure. I think let's come back to some use cases, and I think what we understand is obviously it's well utilized and used in every part of our daily lives in certain way and forms, and depends on the use case for each panelist here on how much and where all. So I'll start with you, Sujala. I think it's something that I saw and I found it extremely intriguing. I think I had a very interesting use case where we saw recently platinum love bands being introduced with AI-powered experience that offers couples a unique way to glimpse into their future. Would you like to throw some insights and light into this innovation? What was the thought behind it? And it is just so fresh and new that you cannot not discuss it in this panel.
Thank you. Sure. I mean, actually, like we said, like I said earlier, our audiences are younger generation. That's where our affinity lies. And as a brand, I mean, Platinum Love Bands is couple bands. So essentially in the relationship scape, we're looking at this younger woman. We're talking about a love that's modern, and modern day love stories look quite different. They aren't about just rose tinted glasses and, the giddy feeling of love at all. I think young women today are not asking, will you marry me? They're asking, what does our future look like? And I think that's a question we attempted to answer with AI. And therefore the idea was really some very basic qualities and variables that we took in. We sort of generated a few projections of what your future together could look like. And therefore, I mean, also we're a metal of emotion, and one with premium sensibilities. We want to leave our audience with an experience that's memorable. It does help if that experience is shareable, and therefore it increases brand reach and mentions, so that definitely helps. And also it was all tied in back to product in the sense, the whole sequences from the future was tied back into, therefore, what is the product recommendation. And I think, that's where Gen AI and, predictive analytics sort of works together to sort of throw up product recommendations that feel customized, for the audience taking that test drive.
And was it exciting for the TG that you did it for? Was it a runaway success, apart from obviously being extremely exciting from a marketing lens, because we all marketers love seeing new things happening? Was it also a on-ground success with a lot of people relating to that concept, and then obviously seeing the execution, how it happened?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of traction on it. I mean, of course, couple of learnings. I don't think anything goes without its learnings. And I think, while we're crafting these journeys, data privacy does remain a concern. So when you ask a couple to share their images, there will be that hesitation given our culture. I think that was a big learning, but all said and done, the traction it got from a freshness and a newness point of view definitely, helped break clutter. We are a brand that dwells on an emotion like love, and as you know, love is much abused. Everything from real estate and a car and so on and so forth run on that emotion. So, to cut through that emotion itself needs sometimes something a bit sharp.
Very interesting. I think I'll move from the emotion to something that Senthil introduced, and that was BOB's launch of Aditi, the AI relationship manager with multilingual support. Senthil, tell us about Aditi.
Yeah, Aditi is our virtual relationship manager, which is totally Gen AI powered. And in fact, we were the first brand or bank to introduce this kind of Gen AI powered, maybe AI ho to hoga, but we are the first to use Gen AI as a technology for relationship, and this is giving us a kind of stepping stone to all our initiatives with Gen AI. So one is that Gen AI powered this Aditi is only, it's answering the customer queries with related to banking products. You all know that banking products are not so simple that we really have to explain some of the products in details and the interest rates, how it's going to affect your income. A lot of things you need, a lot of explanation. So Aditi comes very, very handy where it gives a humanized touch with, we actually shot a model, human model, and how it reacts to customer when different emotions, that kind of, you'll not feel that you're talking to a robo or you're talking to a machine. So we wanted to have that experience. So this is what Aditi is solving for bank in terms of answering customer queries. But that is one part. On the second is that once this model gets kind of used, we get a lot of insights more on how customers are reacting to this model. So there's, as you know, that AI is more to do with a continuous development and kind of bringing in more insights or based on the usage. So we have this maybe first user advantage by using this as a starting for just interaction. But going forward, I think that there will be a lot of opportunities to build customer engagement through this platform alone, because it's going to give a lot of insights and data as we progress. Because we have more than 16 crore customer base, and if it's the adoption to this kind of technology and the customer is going to use, so there are going to be a lot of use cases for us to build on it, and the potential is immense. That is one thing. Second thing I wanted to say is that hyper-localization, what we are doing in bank is that we have microsites for all our branches and ATMs. So we have the digital footprint. So it's going to be a combination of digital presence and also use of AI and the interaction with the customer. So it's going to be really complex, but at the same time we see that there is huge potential in bringing in customer engagement to a next level. At the same time, we very much harp upon the trust factor, because banking is something is more built on trust. So it's not that something we should do on a very hasty or maybe in a faster manner. There's a lot of compliance which goes into this kind of technology usage, and kind of many other factors come in. So we are also very consciously concerned about this trust and the customer's privacy and the customer's data protection. All those things are also equally enough on our radar to see that technology not only takes the benefit of the commercial returns, but also involves in the customer's data protection, and trust factor is totally built in this also.
Oh, great to hear that, Senthil. I think I'll go to the other end of the spectrum, which is going back to you, Kedar. I think as a consumer, we've noticed that Kotak has shifted away from very conventional product-centric messaging to adopt a very wider narrative that evolves with the evolving consumer attitudes. And also, I think the recent Holi film was completely built using AI. In fact, you showed me something in our backstage where you told me that you made it in 1 hour, right? I think it is really exciting. I think, Kedar, please share with everybody here and also the panel. People really think that, hey, people talk about it, but it's not for us. But I think you are a brand that is actually executing it, releasing it in mass media, digitally adopting it, and actually executing it. Tell us a lot more about this film and what else are you guys doing there?
See, I think there are a few trends that we all need to take notice and evolve and change. I think one thing that India is going through is today consumers, the emboldened Indian is not really seeking permission for anything. They are demanding access. And as they demand access, the role that brand plays is very, very different, and especially true for the sector that we are in, which is BFSI. BFSI has always been about eligibility, and I think we spoke about it. Are you eligible for a loan? Are you eligible for getting a particular product? So on and so forth. And then, you look at your certain scores, and then that's when you are being offered a chair or not, probably. So I think the shift is from looking at you as being eligible to possibilities, and I think therein lies the role of what we are trying to do, which is trying to be an enabler in their journey and helping them get their possibilities. Now, as you're trying to bring this mindset shift, one of the core things is that how do you really become a part of the conversation? And if you want to be a part of the conversation, you have to be on the feed. If you're not on the feed, then you're not part of their day-to-day life. And you need to do that with that kind of a frequency and that kind of a everyday content that you push out. And if you want to do that, you can't really keep investing behind large budget films. I remember my time earlier when we used to do Deliver Love for Amazon back then, where we used to invest so much time in making an ad, conceptualizing it, taking about a year's time to saying what should we put out, so on and so forth, do a bunch of tests. To cut to now, we realize that you can literally do all of it at a click of a button. There are two, three big pieces of work that has changed my perspective to things. I think one of them that you picked up was Holy. This is a completely AI-generated film. So one is to say that you invest into big ticket items, right? There are films that you would have invested in, worked on it for like 3, 4 months, 5 months, and say this is the first piece of AI video that you put out. That is just a statement. But then when you're able to get your daily content out in a matter of an hour with zero production cost, with zero, there's no voice cost, there is no production cost, there is no music cost. All of these are just prompts. You put that and then you get your ad. So Holy was the first that we put out, and it was quite surprising to see how a lot of people actually embraced it. And as Indians go, we are also very forgiving. So there were a lot of challenges in those ads. It's not the perfect piece of work, but then coming from a bank, coming from an industry like this, I think they were gracious enough to embrace it and make it their own. From then to now, and I'm talking about a journey between Holy to now, I think the team has kind of taken this to another level where, all your content videos, so Sunita Williams, welcome, is another one where, you think of these topics, you would have thought about a post earlier, now it's a video. So you will see a lot of this happening, and it's going to be a very acceptable thing. I think the piece where it still needs to be a lot of AI that still needs to be done is the entire piece on measurement, and this is an appeal to everyone who is seeking to be and making inroads with AI. I think measurement in marketing and how do you really do a lot of research which is AI backed and more easy is a piece that's there. But yeah, you see a lot.
I want to ask you a question on that, and Shwetal, I'd love your opinion as well on that. Now you've made a film, right? I mean, technically it's AI generated now, but the process to be making a film used to be very different from how we were growing up, right? There used to be a PPM, there used to be a Milbert Brown, used to score. Whether it is going out or not, it's still not decided. The film is made, it could even be canned if it scores a dark red, right? When you do stuff like this on AI, how does it, this process, how is it mitigated or how is it managed in the system? Because obviously you're using it digital forums and it still could tank completely. And are you adaptive at that point of time to say, yeah, we tried something new and it may not have gone through the same rigor and process of validating what it goes, but it also is a huge mindset shift from a marketer.
Yeah. So, as a marketer, what I've learned is that you shouldn't take yourself too seriously. And you shouldn't take your brand also too seriously. And this is very contradictory to a lot of beliefs, but let me tell you what I mean by that. So, I think there isn't a piece of work that you can be absolutely 100% certain that it's going to cut ice. We've got many matrices that tells you that you do a link test and it'll tell you that it's top box or not, and then finally you have enough brand track metrics that will tell you. You'll have a business metrics to tell you. But today's world is very different. You need to have the more vulnerable and open you are to being accepted as seen on a feed is very different than how you would want it to be project yourself on a big impact property or a TV or anywhere else. Now, once you understand that, then you also get the confidence to say, all right, it's okay to experiment at a scale that we want to experiment. And that's the spirit, right? That's the spirit with which you apply. Now, coming to your point on how does this whole process work, I think, see, unless you're very, very clear and all your work stems from a very, very basic understanding of marketing. If you're not very clear, if your briefs are not very clear, none of the AI tools are going to work for you. So your brief has to be extremely clear. You want to know what you want to do. If you don't have a brand key, none of the prompts are going to give you great output. So this process was literally done by the creative agency, where the creative agency was extremely clear on what we wanted to do. The first things that we did was that we have a solid brand positioning statement, and hence all our creative partners, including people who are in the tech, are very clear that what Kotak wants to do. So it was literally a prompt, a video sent to us, and we saw the video and said, no, it is not doing this. It went back. It's just a 1 hour of to and fro, and we got the output out.
I think
So
superb.
end-to-end.
I think you really touched upon a really important point. I mean, AI is an enabler, and the human intervention still lasts. If the prompt is not good enough, I mean, Google Maps has existed, but if you don't put an address, it will still not get you to the place that you want to get at. So I think that's realistic. Shwetal, I mean, would love to hear your thoughts on that, because I think your category, Polycab, is so interesting. You engage with such a diverse set of consumers, B2C, B2B, both important aspects. And I will also switch gears from just AI conversations to also a bit of multi-screen, right? Because today the consumer is across screens. We are no longer in the world of TV or print. I mean, print was never a screen, or mobile. I think the user is across so many. The TV itself is connected today. Your digital out of home has become so big. We talk about ad fatigue and ad favorability, but we end up showing the same ad via multiple ecosystems to the same user 12 times. But what are your thoughts on this, and how are you mitigating this in your experience?
So I think taking also cue from him, as a marketer, having your brand key and having the marketing strategy very strong is very important. What happens is, as marketers, it's very easy to get tempted. Some great deal coming in from here, ये बहुत अच्छा है, यहाँ पे कर दो, ये सस्ते में मिल रहा है, वो बहुत बढ़िया है, ये किसी और brand ने किया. Every day there are lots and lots and lots of temptations, and most of us keep falling to these temptations under pressures from our own self and the teams. Somewhere we need to be clear of what our marketing strategy is, where is our consumer, where is that money that you need to spend, because however number of crores is your marketing budget, no marketer will come and tell you saying that I have got enough budget. पैसे हमेशा कम पड़ते हैं. So it's very important that your brand strategy is clear, you know your consumer well, and you're very clear on which are the best mediums you want to choose where you're going to find your consumer. And once that is done, content is a king. So at every place, the mindset of the consumer, or I would say the mass mindset of the consumer, absorbing that content is very different. Now, if you go on Twitter and you show him a beautiful ad, it's not going to work there. But it's the same consumer when you show the same ad on an Insta or on a YouTube in an educative manner, it's going to be very different, right? So what will be important is to find out your consumer, customer, influencers, which all are the various kind of mediums that they consume, and create content that suits them and the medium. That will be important. Like as I mentioned, for me, it's establishing the brand in the mind of the consumer, being relevant to the consumer, because that's where your demand gen would also happen. At the same time, making sure that your customers, which is your dealer, distributor, retailer network, also believes in you. So we very clearly, we need to understand where their interest level is and communicating to them. And then there's an entire influencer network, because how much as you do on the brand and how much as you create a pull from the consumer, if you're an electrician who's an expert who comes and tell you ki madam ye mat lagao, you're going to listen, because electrician is like a doctor. Doctor tells you aap bimar ho to bimar ho, right? Whatever Google Baba tells you doesn't really matter. So it's talking to each and every person at every level and identifying where they are and speaking to them. And multiple mediums would work, multiple mediums are important. role of each medium for you is important and creating content is important.
True, I think running short on time, but I think we'll rope in two guys who are using tech quite extensively. I think this is something that Kedar brought up earlier in the conversation, and I wanted to come back to that while AI exists, necessarily doing great things, but I think most people probably would also cringe in marketing if they see, it serves a performance. I mean, some of the outcomes that performance marketers need to drive are fairly well managed and mitigated by, generative AI and creatives that they create. But probably if that creative is shown to the CMO of XYZ bank, he's like, dude, this is not passing that brand test. And when you guys in your fields, obviously in the tech-driven ecosystem, how do you mitigate these challenges when brands come and talk to you? That this solves for what I want, but it technically is not brand relevant. I mean, you guys, both from a lens of media usage and targeting, and also from a process of creation for you, Amandar.
Look, I have an easy job. I'm not a marketer, I'm an enabler. So my job is to put technology in the hands of marketeers and let them figure out the use cases. So let me tell you, for example, how, and I think we, in the industry, we have like really very smart people. One of the very relevant use cases recently was a very large gaming brand in India that advertises a lot on cricket. They shot a creative with one of the biggest superstars in cricket, announcing a date for a very large event and a relevant consumer offer. Now, and then that cricketer went to play a big tournament in Dubai. And then the date of the event changed and the offer changed. Now what is the option for a marketer? I mean, how do you, that whole shoot has gone for a waste, right? And forget having time for reshoot, the celebrity does not have time for audio also. So you can't even do a voiceover. Now here is where technology enables, using a combination of voice cloning and lip sync. The same creative is totally repurposed with a fraction of the cost. That campaign incidentally is on air. Another great example was a very large bank shot for a very good creative with a South Indian actor. And they wanted to kind of bring that back into other languages. A very easy way out is again enabled by technology. The same video, by just changing the audio, now you have a brand new creative in other languages, and that will shortly go on air on IPL. So I'm just saying that, look, these are use cases that marketers find. As a tech company, our job is to enable marketers to be able to use technology to do a job that they love doing the most, which is bring their brand very close to consumers and hope that that converts into business, right? It's actually a very easy process. And that is what technology enables. And
I think I hear you, and Satish bringing you in as well. I think, like you rightly said, no advertising is done for the purpose of showing a great ad. I mean, it is always done for the purpose of driving a certain ROI, which brings back to the meeting boardroom, and I'm sure none of these CMOs sitting here are discussing VCRs and CTRs, right, in that boardroom. So obviously in your part of the ecosystem, when you manage so many partners and clients, how does that affect in you choosing certain strategies and diverse strategies for execution when it comes to media optimizations? And currently with so much at your behest, how are you able to make the right choices?
So in fact, a few years back, we said, hey, the concept of optimization is typically associated with performance marketing. And when it comes to brand spends and brand marketing spends, a heavy focus goes to content, how the brand is being positioned. And media was traditionally being looked at as media planning, media buying, and then post-evals. And then that basically means the performance expectations are here and now, whereas brand building, okay, it's going to happen over a period of time, which also means that many brands then just don't have they have the cold feet in terms of even making investments. So we said, how do we look at this problem differently and turn it on its head by bringing the science of performance, data, analytics, optimization to brand spends? So we built this AI product called Neo, which leverages a combination of multiple tech. One, in terms of identifying the right context in which a particular communication suits is going to have a far better impact than others. For that, we scan through, using AI, millions of channels on YouTube and elsewhere, and then figured out the right association for a brand category, the messaging, the audience, and where it's going to be best served. And this is not just for YouTube, but across all the media that we have access to. And then we also looked at how do we pre-discover the audience cohorts using the power of 1P data to figure out what are the next set of audiences that are most likely to be this customer's potential customers. And then we looked at the funnel itself and said, can we look at creative cohorts at a very granular level that we are targeting, where they are in the funnel, how are they responding to our brand communication based on frequency of that communication. Also depends on where they lie in the funnel itself. And then we converted that all into a mathematical equation of sorts and fed it into the AI to optimize then for brand lift, search lift, and business lift. And we said, why should post-eval be post-eval? Why should it not be an anytime campaign eval that's actually being automated and optimized? And that has really helped us bring the science and power of optimization to brand spends, thereby substantially accelerating the outcomes that a brand expects from that brand spend.
Fantastic. I think our time's up, and I think I was thinking we have a 6 people panel and how we'll be able to manage it, but I hope audience had fun. But before we go, I didn't tell you something that we didn't discuss pre-stage, which is I'm known for doing something called the rapid fire round, which is basically what the big man does with the glasses on Hotstar. But obviously I don't have the gifts and I am not that rich, but we're going to still do that. The idea of rapid fire is, I didn't tell you the question. That is the whole purpose of it. But the game is simple. You just get a question and you answer it. You're not representing your company, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but technically that's the game, right? So don't take too much time. Don't overthink. It's just fun. I'll start with you, Kedar. I hope your mic is in your hand. So the legendary Guns N' Roses is performing in India after 13 years. We know who is getting it, your company. If you were to start your own band, what would you call it?
I wouldn't start my own band. I would get AI to do it for me.
No, man. Killer. Senthil, you were the captain of your college basketball team. My team does a really good job, believe me. If you had a chance to captain an IPL team, which one would it be and why?
Of course, Chennai Super Kings, because I'm a fan of Dhoni and Taleva.
Superb.
Yeah, I'm also a basketball team captain of the college.
Still are.
Not now.
Oh, thank God.
I was.
I mean, just double checking, man. Mandar, which song would you pick for to celebrate India's victory at Champions Trophy?
Chak de.
Very nice. And I also had it. You have some India's Got Talent. Sujala, if you had to choose one Oscar-winning actor or actors as ambassadors of Platinum Guild, who would it be? If you don't watch Oscars, then I can ask you another question.
No, that's fine. I think Charlize Theron.
Very nice. And last one for you. No, I have 2 people. Okay. Shwetal. With ChatGPT and generative AI buzzing everywhere, which part of your marketing process would you never want AI to touch?
All processes can be done with AI. But yeah, I think the human touch which you need with your team, who will further use AI, is something that cannot be replaced with AI. Otherwise, all processes AI can replace.
Good answer.
Can be used.
Good answer. Last, Satish, up to you. I think SpaceX Dragon capsule brought Sunita Williams back to Earth. Which one marketing trend would you like to launch in outer space forever?
Sorry, what was the thing? Which one?
Which marketing trend would you like to launch in outer space forever, which doesn't come back?
Wow. Which marketing trend would I launch in outer space? Wow. Sorry, I'm going blank.
Which AI tool did you use to generate these questions?
That's us, guys. That's our time. It's human, by the way. So that's us, guys. Thank you for your time and thank you for the lovely panel, guys. Thank you.